everyone, it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel. You already know what today's video is. May is coming up pretty soon, which means it's time to sit down and plan and create our bullet journal spread for the month. I'm very excited for this month. I know I say that in every single plan with me, but it's just because there's a lot of exciting things coming up and happening this month. So I'm definitely gonna need a nice bullet journal setup to go along with it. Just quickly before we get right into it, I'd like to give a quick thank you to today's sponsor, Skillshare. I feel like most of you already know how much I love the whole Skillshare platform and what they do on there. I've been a long-time supporter of theirs. They've been a long-time supporter of my channel, so they're super awesome. I'll talk a little bit more about Skillshare later in the video, but without further ado, I want to get planning, so I'm going to hand you guys off to the voiceover now. Okay, so for May 2019, I decided to do my take on a butterfly theme, and I've been planning on doing this theme for a while. It's actually been kind of a long time requested one from you guys, but I figured May is the perfect month for it. Also, I decided to do blue butterflies because I haven't done a cool tone color theme in a while. A lot of you guys pointed that out to me as well, so we're doing blue this month. For the cover page, I'm doing a flock of butterflies. Is that the term? A flock? A pack, a group of butterflies flying off from one corner to the other, which I thought was perfect because then I could play around with the different angles of the butterflies and butterflies from side views and making them look like they're really just like flying off. And at the beginning of this cover page, you'll see that I'm still trying to figure out the style of butterflies that I want to use and doodle for the rest of the month. So I was kind of experimenting, but by the end, I figured out a very fast and quick way to doodle butterflies, which I'll show you really shortly. I decided to do a quick little doodle tutorial in this video to help you guys out because I know that these look kind of complicated, but trust me, I figured out a way to make it a little bit easier. But anyways, in terms of the supplies that I'm using, I'm actually only using my Tombow Fudenosuke hard-tipped brush pen for everything, pretty much. I used it for the brush lettering as well as using it as a fine liner for the butterflies. And there's a really actually functional reason that I'm doing this, and it's because for the butterflies, you can see that I add a dark border around the wings, so it makes it a lot easier to have a brush pen that I can press down harder when I need the lines to be thicker and when I want to fill in those dark borders, and then I can press lighter when I just want a thin outline like a fine liner. And the Tombow Fudenosuke hard-tipped brush pen is great for that since it's a bit stiff, so you can really have a lot of control with that. Anyways, after I had all of the outlines of my butterflies down, I went in with the blue colors, and I think the actual term for these blue butterflies are the blue morpho butterflies. I looked up a lot of different reference photos. I'll link a couple of them down below, as well as some other butterfly themed bullet journals and doodles that I found that may help you guys get some more inspiration. And of course, I'll also link all of the supplies that I'm using as well. But in terms of the blue, sorry, back to the blue. I'm all over the place. This is a tangent voiceover as usual, but the blues that I used are 2 Crayola Super Tips. Yes, I only used 2 blues, 1 lighter blue and 1 darker blue. Something that I figured out is that I can actually blend my Crayola Super Tips markers to give it an ombre look, because if you look up pictures of actual blue morpho butterflies, you'll see that the wings have these very beautiful detailed patterns on them, but it's also a couple shades of blue, and it typically goes from light to dark. So I tried to emulate that look, and how I did this was going in with my lighter Crayola Super Tips at the center of the butterfly, and then I go in with the darker blue, kind of scribbling it on the tips of the wings, and then going back to that light blue shade to blend the edge where the 2 colors meet. And the blend doesn't have to be perfect because you put the pattern of the wing on top, so it kind of covers up any imperfections, but I think it still gives off the vibe and really adds a nice touch to the butterflies. Oh, and then I go in with my white Sakura Jelly Roll gel pen to draw a couple of dots on the tips of the wing, just to give it a couple more details. This is optional though. Just in case you're still confused and struggling on drawing butterflies, I decided to include this little mini doodle tutorial for you guys. So to start off, I use my pencil to roughly sketch out a base outline of these sort of trapezoid shapes, and that'll give me a outline of how I want the wings to look, and it'll also help when you're trying to change up the perspective of the wings. I really recommend doing this before you go in and draw the actual wing shape, it really makes sure that everything is symmetrical. Then I draw the body of the butterfly, which is just 3 little sort of bean shapes with a circle on top. And I go in and draw the wing shape, and you can kind of play around with different wing shapes. Obviously, every single butterfly has different wings and no 2 butterflies are the same, so you don't have to do it exactly like me, but typically what I'll do is make the top of the butterfly wings a lot bigger, and they're also a lot pointier, if that makes sense, and then the bottom 2 wings are a lot smaller and rounder. Next, I'm going in and drawing the detail lines of the butterfly wings, and this was what I was struggling with at first when I was trying to figure out how I wanted to doodle them, because I wanted it to be efficient. I didn't want to, be extremely detailed with every single butterfly, since I knew I would have to draw a lot of them. So what I figured out is that you can actually just draw a couple of lines. You can see here it just looks almost like stripes or chevron. I have a main stripe down the center of the top one and then a couple of lines sprouting out from it. It doesn't look that great at first, but what really brings it all together is when you add the dark border on the tips of the wings. I'm really focusing this on the tips, especially at the top 2 corners and the bottom 2 corners, and yeah, I think it just brings everything together. You can totally leave it just like this if you want a really quick butterfly doodle, but what sometimes I do if I want to be really fancy with it is I round out the edges of the little shapes on the center. You can see that I'm doing that right here actually. But again, that's only when I want to be very fancy. For most of the butterflies that I do in this video for my bullet journal setup, I don't do this just because for efficiency's sake. In order to color in the butterfly, as I mentioned before, I like to give the wings an ombre look, so I go in with the lighter of the 2 shades, which is a light blue in my case, and I just kind of scribble that out from the center of the butterfly, leaving some space on the tips of the wings. Then I go in with my darker shade and I kind of do the opposite, and I color inwards from the tips of the wings. And then I go back with my lighter shade and blend the border of those 2 colors, and I really love the look of this. You can also do the same thing with other colors. I know that monarch butterflies pretty much have the same design to this, so if you wanted to do orangey yellow butterflies, I think that would be really pretty as well. For final touches, I go in with a white gel pen and add a couple of dots and speckles on top of that black border that we did on the tips of the wings, mostly at the top corners and the bottom corners. This is optional. I feel like it looks fine without it, but I really like the look and the final touches that it adds to the butterflies. Oh, and then as another option, you can also add these 2 little, I don't know what to call them, like sprouts at the bottom tips of the wings. I've seen a couple butterflies have this shape, so I throw this in a couple times during this bullet journal setup just to make things interesting, but you guys can play around with different wing shapes. Every single butterfly has different wings, even the designs and patterns on the wings as well. Have fun with it, play around with colors. I feel like this theme has so many possibilities because there's so many different types of butterflies, so I can't wait to see what butterflies you guys create. I also wanted to show you guys that the steps are pretty much the same for drawing butterflies from a side view. You just have to change up that initial trapezoid sketch. You'll see that I only draw one of them, and I also draw this little mini triangle behind it to show the other side of the wing peeking out, but everything else is the same. So that was my little mini butterfly doodle tutorial. Sorry for the little detour, but I hope this helps you guys out. Back to the bullet journal setup though. On the other side of the spread next to the cover page, I decided to do a quote, and this quote says, "If nothing ever changed, there'd be no butterflies." Underneath the quote, I did a doodle that showcases the evolution and transformation of a butterfly. So there's a caterpillar hanging from the leaf, and then it goes to the chrysalis, and then finally, of course, it sprouts its wings and becomes a butterfly, which I just thought really suited this theme and the whole idea of allowing yourself to change and grow, because change is good, you know? I feel like I need to remind myself that sometimes. I felt like there was something missing from the spread, so I decided to use a couple different blue washi tapes that I had just as an added decorative touch. The next page is of course my monthly calendar layout, and for this month I decided to do something a little bit different than what I've been doing for the past couple of months. I actually drew each individual box separated out, almost like floating boxes, so there's a space in between. I've definitely done this style of monthly calendar before, I just can't remember the last time I did it. But for this month, I actually used a blue marker for the lines. I'm using the Tombow twin tone markers, and it's nice because there's actually a thicker end, so you'll see that later I use that thicker end to draw the numbers. But I figured this layout kind of matched the theme because the boxes are floating, just like the butterflies, and I liked the use of the blue lines as well. For the headers, I did my classic black box with white text on top. You guys know how much I love that. And on the side, I of course have my YouTube growth tracker as well as my monthly focus. Of course, gotta throw in the butterfly doodles. I just did a couple at the top and bottom corner. Since the boxes are floating, it was nice because the whole calendar layout wasn't perfectly rectangle, so it left these two perfect little notches in the top left and bottom right to throw in the doodles as well as the May title. Anyway, I actually really like how this monthly calendar turned out. I feel like it just looks clean, and I like that the blue lines match the blue butterflies. By the way, if you are wondering about the box dimensions, each box of mine was 5 by 5 and there is a space of 1 dot space in between. Next up we have our trackers. You guys know the deal already for the habit tracker because I've been doing this same layout for the past while actually. I don't even remember the last time I didn't do this type of layout. I just really like the functionality of tracking individual habits. I feel like it's easier to visualize. Anyways, you'll see that I'm using the exact same blue fine liner marker just to match the style of the monthly calendar layout. So I'm doing the mini calendars with the fine liner tip, and I'm not actually numbering them. I used to number them, but first of all, I'm too lazy, and second of all, I feel like it's still pretty easy to tell what day it is, especially since May is like this irregular shape, so you can kind of tell what day is what. And then for the titles, again, black boxes with the white text on top. Surprisingly, no drop shadows. I just realized that now. I didn't add any drop shadows for these boxes, which is weird for me. Usually I add drop shadows to absolutely everything, but I guess this month I wasn't feeling it. Anyway, threw in some butterflies for good measure, and the habit tracker is ready to go. Now for my mood tracker, I decided to go back to an older style of mood tracker that I did a while back, and it's like the mood wheel. I don't remember the last time I did this. I feel like I was just revisiting a lot of my old favorites for this month, which, you know, not mad at that. But anyways, I sketched out a circle and made sure that there was perfectly 31 segments, but I still ended up messing it up and doing 32 for some reason because apparently I can't count. Again, I'm using that blue fine liner marker to do the outlines of the tracker just to make everything cohesive. And essentially, I will color in each segment of the mood tracker depending on my mood. I have a little legend at the bottom that signifies what color means what mood. Darker blue for me means that I'm sadder that day, and lighter blue means that I am happier. In the center, I have a butterfly just because there's an empty space, and me this whole month, if there's an empty space, add a butterfly. And I also drew a bunch of butterflies from the edges of the tracker just to make it look like the butterflies are flocking towards the center. I really like the way that these two trackers look together as a whole. I feel like it's very cohesive and I don't know, just very satisfying to look at for some reason. This next page is my brain dump page, and this time around I'm actually only doing a half spread. Last month I found that I wasn't really using the whole 2 pages, so I decided to cut it down and only do half. And at the bottom I drew this big butterfly so that you could only see the tops of the wings. I thought I would throw this in just to add something a bit different, because I know I'd been drawing a lot of mini butterflies. So next to it, I have my monthly playlist, except this time around, I did something a little different and I actually chose songs based on the theme, because I realized that there's actually quite a lot of songs with the name butterfly in it, so I'm calling this my butterfly playlist. I actually really do like all these songs. I'm not just putting them on because they are called Butterfly, but I mean, that kind of helps and it goes with the theme. So the first song that I have is Butterflies by Kassy Musgraves. I recently discovered her music and listened for the first time, and I truly understand the hype. I get why she won all of those Grammys. Her music is just so pretty and relaxing, and actually I really do like the whole album. Next we have Butterfly by Kehlani. Great song, love Kehlani as well. Underneath it we have Butterfly by Grimes, Butterfly by Luna, which I've talked about before, but as soon as I realized I was doing a butterfly theme, Luna is the first thing I thought of. And finally we have BTS Butterfly, a classic. You guys know I have to throw in BTS at all times. Funnily enough, I realized that The Boys, who is another boy group who I love, are actually releasing a song called Butterfly as well. By the time I'm uploading this, I don't think the song is out yet, but if it was out, you better believe that it would be on this playlist. But yeah, I love The Boys. They're great, and I'm sure the song is going to be great as well. But yeah, that is my butterfly playlist. Let me know if there's any other songs that have to do with butterflies that you guys know of. Comment that down below, because I'm sure there's a lot. Apparently people like to write about butterflies. I realized all of the album covers that I printed out have some sort of blue in it, so it's very satisfying that this spread is so color coordinated. That wasn't even planned, but yeah, it matches all of the butterflies that I'm doodling around it. And finally, we've made it to the weekly spread, the first weekly spread of May. I actually had so many ideas of different weekly spread layouts that I could do for this month, so I'm very excited to create some more as the month goes along. As usual, I will be live streaming my weekly spreads pretty much every single Saturday. You guys can join me on Instagram and hang out, and we can plan together on Saturday mornings. I'm doing this 4-column layout, so in the 2 center columns I have the actual daily tasks, and then on the left column I just have some doodles just to fill in this blank space. And on the right, I have my weekly events sidebar, and that's where I put any appointments and events that I have. You guys have definitely seen me do some version of this layout before, but this particular layout is pretty much the same thing, except all of the modules are just scrambled and in a different order than maybe something that I would normally do. Anyways, I had fun with this one. I played around with using different colors for the headers as well as the black with the white text on top, because that seems to be a running theme this month. Actually, it seems to be a running theme this whole year. I really like doing the white text on top of the black, like boxes and circles and stuff. Anyways, just finishing it off with a bunch of butterflies, and as you can see, since I'm doodling so many, this is where that little hack that I told you guys about at the beginning comes in handy, where you don't really need to clean up the edges of the design. Just make sure the black border is present, and I feel like it makes it look a lot better and a lot cleaner than it actually is. Alright guys, before I show you the final flip through of this month's bullet journal setup, I wanted to take this time to quickly talk about Skillshare. If you don't know what Skillshare is, it's an online learning community with thousands of classes in design, business, technology, lettering. There's even a class by yours truly. I do have a class all about creative journaling. So if you want to see more of this face, you can definitely check out my class on Skillshare. It is exclusive to the platform, so I will leave that link down below. Even if you don't take my class, don't worry, I won't be salty. I'm sure you'll be able to find something else on there that you're interested in. Premium membership gives you unlimited access to all of the high quality classes, so you can improve your skills, learn something new that you've always wanted to pick up, or just keep doing what you love. Oh, and Skillshare is also one of the more affordable learning platforms out there. An annual membership is less than $10 a month. So if you guys want to try out Skillshare for yourself, you can click the link in the description box below. The first 500 people to use that link will get their first 2 months for free. Alright guys, here is the final flip through of my May 2019 bullet journal setup with the butterfly theme. I can't believe it took me this long to do this butterfly theme. I love it. It might be one of my top themes, but I hope you guys liked this setup as much as I did. Alright everyone, as usual, while I'm doing the outro, here are some of your beautiful recreations from last month, which was April. I always love to look through your recreations and my tagged photos to see what you guys do with the theme and what you do with your spread. So if you do recreate this month's bullet journal setup, or even past ones, be sure to tag me on Instagram at AmandaRachLee. You can also use our hashtag Hashtag Lil Doodles, for those of you who don't know. That is our squad name. Oh, and when you post your photos, be sure to tag me in the photo and the caption, and that way I can see them all and like them, and maybe you can be featured in next month's video. Anyways, that was my May 2019 bullet journal setup. I hope you enjoyed planning with me, or if you weren't actually sitting down and planning alongside me, maybe you just enjoyed hanging out and chilling. Nonetheless, if you enjoyed it, be sure to click that bell button down below so you never miss a new video from me. And as usual, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, all of those places. Have a great day, everyone. Keep doodling, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys.